welcome to Kerry's Cards. Thanks for joining me today for this tutorial. We're going to be making what I got as an origami style box that closes on itself, but it uses a whole piece of 12 by 12 paper. I'll show you what it looks like, the finished article. This is the finished box. And what it does is it tucks inside and opens up, so you can fit something in that is about 3 inches by 3 inches square by the time it's finished, and 1.5 inches deep. So you can put like a nice bar of soap, some little miniature bubble baths or things like that, maybe a miniature gin and tonic, or maybe miniature bottles of alcohol, maybe not the tonic. The tonic's probably a little bit big, but it tucks in on itself and folds quite nice and neatly shut. And then if you wanted to put a little bit of ribbon around, you can. Now, a lot of these are done, when you say origami, they're made by using certain folds. Now, you can use any type of paper. This is one of the online exclusive sheets of paper from Stampin' Up. But the origami style has, when you make it origami style, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see in this one I've got here, you fold it without using a bone fold. So you rely on all the folds. Now, I'm not sure if you can see. Can you see the crease lines that are all down here now, the score lines where you've folded it and scored? It's quite shiny, so you might be able to see. But turn it over, you can see more of the score lines there from where you folded it. Now, that works great. And I can show you how to do that without a scoreboard, but most of us crafters have a scoreboard or a trimmer with a scoring blade. So this one here I've made without, so you can't, can you see there's no score lines on it where you've had to fold it and things. So it's a lot more, I would class as neater. That's my best way of describing it. There's none of the scores. Let's see if we can see in that cat angle there. Yeah. So it's a flatter, smooth base. So what I've done is I'll talk you through the measurements. So I'm going to use you can either use your trimmer with a score blade on it, or you can utilize a scoreboard if you have one of those. So I'm going to use the scoreboard for this one. But it doesn't really matter which way you do it. So on the first bit, what we're going to do is take our scoring tool. Make sure you don't press too hard because we're using paper here. So I'm going to use the bigger round end rather than the shorter one or small one. And the first bit we're going to do is score at 3 inches, 4.5 inches, 7.5 inches, and 9 inches. And then we're going to turn it around 90 degrees, and we're going to score again at 1.5 inches, 3 inches, 9 inches, and 10.5 inches. And then I'm going to go back down, and I'm going to score really lightly at the 6-inch mark in the middle part of the paper. So I'm going to come down here really, really lightly, and it's just so that I can get and just score a little bit there. And all that's doing is giving me a really fine line there that I'm going to use when I fold my paper in onto itself. So that's what we call a very light, fine score line there. So that's all our scoring done. You might not be able to see it so well there, but you can see some of the score lines there. So let's put that away. At this particular point now, any of the folds that I'm doing, I'm going to use this in score line that I've done here, the light one in the middle, as my point to be either vertical or horizontal when I'm folding. So at this point, you should have a nice little vertical line through the 6-inch mark there. Now what we're going to do next is we're going to take each corner and fold these into, let me just double check, this way. Turn it round so your 6-inch line is now horizontal, and these are our 4.5-inch score lines here. And what you need to do is fold the paper up to those points. let's just double check that that's what I'm doing. Yeah. So fold them up to here. Each one. I'm just folding and scoring them up. I'm using my hand to score up to that point there. And the last one goes up to there. So at this point, we have it looking like that. Then what we're going to do is flip this over so that we have our score line horizontal there, the little 6-inch one we've got in the middle there. And we're going to fold this one up onto itself. This is where I'm going to start using my bone folder because the paper starts getting a little bit thicker. And fold this one down on the 4.5-inch line so that it meets in the middle, like so. Then we're going to fold on the next score line, which is the 1.5-inch score line, back on itself. Like so. So that it looks like that. At this point, what you need to do now is, it's a bit sort of complicated, but where we've folded that out, what we'll need to do is open these bits out and pull them so that it makes it square. Do you see how I did that then? So instead of it then being, I lift it up, so this side here we've got the triangle bit still, but what we've done there is we've pulled these bits out here to make it square. So if I open it up, pull these bits out here with your finger, and then make these score lines here match up with these score lines here. So you're creating a nice square edged. Okay. Once you've got that, so they're nice square edges there now, you then turn it over again, back to the way we were. And we then sort of bend these bits here, these lines here, to meet these lines here. But as we do that, it sort of flips, so it's sort of concertina. So we're putting a fold in the middle bit here. So we're sort of trying to fold it across here. And as we do that, we pull out this bottom bit and then take these edges up and fold on top of the score line. And we're going to do exactly the same on this side. Pull this bit out. And as we pull this bit out, we're going to bring it and bend it over to meet the edge. So we're sort of creating a bit of a concertina effect. Can you see that zigzag effect? Excuse me. So from here, this is where we're now going to create the rest of the box. So we sort of bring this bit in. These two bits here will meet in the middle as we bend and bring this up. But beforehand, what we'll do is we'll just do these score lines a little bit here that you can see. So then when we bend these in, it comes up and you squish it together. Now, if you're struggling with this bit, I suggest you pause and rewind a couple of times just so you get the idea of it. But if we turn it around again, so you can see there's some score lines here and here. So I'm just going to bend those score lines in with my finger and just sort of squash them a bit so they're more obvious. And then once we've got to that point, we'll put it back down again. Get these two flappy bits here and then pull them in to meet. And as you pull them in, use your back fingers to pull up the back like that and squeeze it down. And then you make a nice square. And then that gives us, when you fold it all over, our box. And then hopefully it should then, one flap or envelope top will fold into, see these little bits we've got here and here, it's like a bit of an envelope pocket. One side, you'll find one side goes in easier than the other depending on how tight your score lines are. And then you push that down and hey presto, you have there your little box. Now this beauty of these is that you can actually lie them down and store them flat, so you can have them at that stage ready if you want to give them for gifts, and then keep them all flat in a box or something, and then just pop them open when you want. If you wanted to put glue on, you could, to hold them in place so that they stay like that, but you really don't need to because they're just quite secure and hold themselves in place like that. So there you are, there's a box. This is one I've just pulled apart to just double check I was doing it the right way. See how quickly that goes together. You'll notice here this one's a bit kinky, best way to describe it. So I would put that one into the smaller bit there so it looks nice and tidy on the top. And here's a couple of others I've made. These are quite simple, quite nice and easy to sit and make while you're watching the television. Again, because you're using the double-sided papers, pretty papers, the inside of the box looks as beautiful as the outside. So thanks for watching. If you've got any ideas of what you'd put inside, then let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.